doing a couple of different things here. One thing is getting him used to having his feet handled. Another thing is getting him used to having ropes worked around him. And I'm using a really soft rope, just a lead rope. One thing throughout this to notice is what I'm doing with my hand that doesn't have the rope is I'm getting him yielding off of pressure to get the weight off of the foot that I'm trying to lift up. And that is something that when I learned that, I was already kind of stuck with the not being able to get his foot off the ground, and a lot of it was because I wasn't positioning the horse where he needed to be. So you can do a lot of that before you even mess around with their feet. Just get them used to shifting their weight off of the pressure that you're putting on. So there I'm lifting up his foot, and when you're lifting their feet initially, they'll get a lot better about it if you give them back their foot before they try and take it away from you. You're kind of teaching them that you're not going to keep it there forever and that they're going to get it back. Again, that's a really soft rope. I don't want to be putting unnecessary, pain on the horse. And also, that rope is real easy for me since it has two ends. If he really gets, messed up, I can just let go of one end and get that off of him real quick versus having something tied around his foot that we're kind of stuck with. You'll see a couple times he'll kind of take his foot back away from me, and I'm not getting into a fight over it right now, or else I'll always be fighting over it. But I try to release it before he asks for it. It's just a matter of timing because I don't know when he's going to ask for it. This here could probably go in the blooper reel, but what I'm doing is trying to get him to yield to that rope, trying to get him to take a step, and he's trying to figure out what I'm asking for, and that's okay. Part of this is getting him to learn that if he gets a rope around his leg or anything around his leg, to yield to it rather than pull against it and fight it, where he could just really tear up his leg or break his leg fighting against something. I've had horses that have got tangled in fence and things like that, and if they just stand still, we can get them out of there. So they'll yield until that pressure comes off if they can. And then here I'm just getting them used to the rope. When we're packing horses, saddling, doing things around horses, they're going to see a lot of things. And since we use the lead rope to guide him around with twirling it and all that, I want him to be able to distinguish when I'm asking him to do something and when I'm just doing something else with the rope, and that he's not bothered by it. I'm not whipping him with it. I'm not, he's not hurt by it. So he's getting used to that rope can be flapping around and doing different things, and it's not going to hurt him. So he doesn't have to worry about it. Here, kind of the same thing I was doing with his foot is if he gets something around his head, that he's yielding to it, or at least not fighting against it where he could hurt himself. What I'm kind of simulating right here is him getting cinched. He hasn't had a saddle on yet, but being able to have that pressure around him, and that's not bothering him. Same thing around the belly. getting him to yield off of pressure. I can't push a horse around, but if I can get him to volunteer, that when I put a little pressure on him to yield over, then we can work together. Just picking up his tail, moving it around. His tail is kind of pinned down. He looks, I guess, relaxed about all this stuff, but if you really look at him, his ears are pinned, his tail is tucked. You know, it's bothering him a little bit with that rope, but I guess he's comfortable enough with me that he'll stick around. When I'm walking around behind him, I'm keeping one hand on him and staying real close to him. A lot of that is that one thing, if you maintain contact with him, then he knows where you are, and you're not surprising him going from one side to the other, walking around back there where he has to kick you. And then if he does kick, you know, you're going to get kicked in the legs, maybe, which isn't great, but it's better than getting kicked in the head. So now back to his feet. I left his feet alone for a little bit there and did some other things. Now we're working on the hinds. I've never picked up his hind feet. So part of the reason to doing this with the rope is that it keeps my face out of there and gives me a little distance. If he has to kick and fight with it, then we can work with that. Notice he has to shift his weight, shift his feet to lift that, but he did that. And he's yielding. He's kind of checking out what's going on, and I'm giving it back to him before he starts tugging and pulling. Just shaking the rope around, just desensitizing. That he sees what I'm doing isn't hurting him, and it's nothing to be scared of, and nothing to resist. Now I'm having him put that foot down. I'm really just moving him for the camera right now. Just there was no other reason to reposition him there other than I'm going to do the other foot and just wanted it to be on this side. So I positioned him where that foot didn't have weight on it so that he can pick it up. I'm not asking him to do something that he's not in position to do. Right there he asked for it back before I released it. Same thing here. I'm going to hold it a little bit longer this time and then give it back to him when I kind of feel like it was my choice. It's never perfect. Having him pick it up the other direction.